I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Planning and Economic Development Committee for December 4th, 2023. Would the deputy clerk please take roll call?
Chairman Sipes.
Here.
Trustee Stromberg.
Here.
Trustee Bogey. Here. Mr. Tricky.
Here.
Ms. Bailey.
Here.
The deputy clerk is present. The attorney is present. Ms. Miller is absent.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. First on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the November 6th, 2023 meeting. May I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second. I have a motion by trustee Stromberg and a second by Mr. Tricky. Is there any questions or changes? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Minutes have been approved. First on the agenda, ordinance 41-23, a text amendment to zoning adding regulations for residential short-term rentals. We have a motion and a second, please.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by trustee Stromberg and a second by Mrs. Bailey. Can we have staff report, please?
Yes, thank you. The committee already looked at this text amendment a couple months ago and voted to recommend approval. However, at the board level, some concerns about some of these proposed regulations have come up, and the amendment was tabled, and then the board advised staff to make some changes to the text amendment and bring it back to this committee. Some of the questions that have come up in the time since the committee last voted on this are about the fee, the annual renewal fee specifically for the short-term rental license and why it was so high. We were proposing $400. Other questions, do we need to propose occupancy limits or require at least a 2-night stay, or can't those be up to the host? Isn't requiring proof of insurance and a log of all guests an intrusion? And why would we prohibit on-street parking for guests if parking is allowed for other residences in that neighborhood? We took these concerns into consideration and we did make some revisions to this text amendment. We reduced the annual license renewal fee from $400 down to only $100. We still recommended the initial application fee to be $400 because that would cover the life safety inspections to the premises to make sure that it's up to code before we allow it to be used as a vacation rental. Also, rather than requiring a log of all guests to be kept and made available to any village department upon request, we've revised this section to only require a log of all responsible guests to be kept. The responsible guest would be the person who's made the reservation and who's responsible for payment for the reservation. This was really the intent of that provision all along, but now it's explicitly clear. There's no reason that we would need to keep a list of every single person staying as a guest, but the responsible guest is information that's gathered and maintained anyway through the rental platform. Staff does recommend keeping the required 2-night minimum stay. As it was explained before, this is a way to discourage people from renting the home just to throw a party, which could certainly be a nuisance to the neighborhood. And the whole point of these regulations is to maintain the health, safety, comfort, and character of the residential neighborhoods that these businesses are located in. And keep in mind the short-term rentals are businesses, and just like regulations that we have for home occupations, the business should not cause an increase in traffic or noise outside of what is typical for a residential neighborhood. And this is why we did not make any revisions to the occupancy limitation or the parking provisions. And I know that some people think that the hosting websites like VRBO and Airbnb already regulate these types of things, but they only regulate it insofar as the regulations that the hosts enter themselves for the regulations that they desire. And when I looked at the websites to see what you need to start listing a rental, the vacation rental, they all say, check with your local municipality. They may have their own regulations to regulate occupancy and such. So the text amendment that we're proposing is not out of the ordinary. We believe it is not too onerous or restrictive. And protecting the comfort of our residents in their homes is really the priority here. So we're hoping for a positive recommendation for this revised text amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, Mr. Tricky.
I just had one question on the parking. Did I miss that? Did we do something with that?
No, we had recommended that all parking for guests be on the property, not on the street and not in the grass at the property, that it be on an approved hard surface, actually on the lot where the residence is. And that's still the same in this revised amendment. We didn't change that.
but I have a question. How would we, number one, how would we even enforce that? Because if we have on-street parking, how can you tell a guest you can't park on the street?
Well, that's the thing. We would only become aware of it if it was really out of control situation.
Okay,
And then we would have this to go back to and, figure out, wow, all these people parking on the street.
okay. Because if we have
causing
on-street
congestion.
parking, a guest should be able to park on the street, so.
Yeah, we would only be aware of this if it was really out of control and causing congestion issues. And then we'd have this to fall back on when we say that they shouldn't be parking on the street.
Thank you.
Any others? The question and concern I have is, we did discuss this when it came the night we had the meeting with the board, that I think we all agreed as a board at the time about the one night stay, that we thought it would be all right, because as was stated by Mrs. Rivas, that people come through town and may only want to stay one night on their vacation, or somebody's here for a wedding or a reunion. So I would like the committee to approve this, to go to the board with it and take out the stipulation of only not being able to do it one night. So when we vote, I'd like to make it so when it comes to the board, it'll be the board's decision, but I'm going to ask us to approve it with the stipulation that we take that out. Is that agreement here with the committee? Okay, so all in favor of this going to the board with a positive recommendation, taking out the stipulation of the one night stay, say, we'll take a roll call, please, Deputy Clerk.
Trust-
Can I get a clarification?
Yes.
Are we voting? on-
No, I'm asking this to go with the, taking out to the board the stipulation of the one night stay. But to approve it to go to the board with that stipulation.
So after this vote, are we done? Or after this vote, we're going to continue to talk about 4123 and any other concern?
Can I just go right to it? How do I have to do it?
Well,
Do I have to make a motion to take the stipulation out to the committee?
we already have a pending motion, right?
Right.
And we already have a pending second. So you should do a motion,
To take it out?
a sub-motion to take out the 1 day, the 1 night limit and
Okay,
increase, I'm
The
sorry.
2 night limit.
2 night limit, or the 2 night requirement, and make it just a 1 night requirement. You should take a sub-motion to make that change to the ordinance.
okay, thank you. So I make a motion that we take out the 2 nights mandatory stay. Do I have a second?
Second.
And now you can have discussion on that. or you
Okay,
can-
any more discussion on that? Okay, all in favor of taking it out, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. So we are taking that stipulation out.
Okay, so now we're still under discussion on 41-23 as it existed before with that amendment.
Okay, and we
Okay.
already had the motion in a second.
We've
So
already had
now
a
we
motion
can
and a
take
second, so
take
you
a
can
vote.
Continue to have discussion or
Okay.
I didn't know if there was any public comment.
Is there any more discussion? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the committee about
I
this?
do want to just
Okay.
specify what that section is going to say with the suggested amendment. Right now, it says no owner shall rent any short-term rental for any period shorter than 32 consecutive hours nor longer than 30 consecutive days. Do you want to change the 32 hours to,
20, it'd be 24, correct, committee?
Probably you just need to take out the limit
Mhm.
and leave the maximum. There's no
Okay.
point in having 24 hours, just,
Yeah,
Okay.
they just simply can't rent it for more than 30 days.
that's what I thought made
They can
sense,
rent it
but I
for
just
one,
wanted to
or two,
clarify
or three, or
how
five.
did you want this to go forward?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
you just take out the low end,
Yeah,
leave the high. end.
yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
Okay, can we please take roll call?
Trustee Stromberg.
Aye.
Trustee Bogie.
Aye.
Mr. Tricky.
Aye.
Ms. Bailey.
Aye.
Chairman Sipes.
Aye,
5 ayes, no nays.
thank you. So ordinance 40-23 will go to the January 2nd board meeting with a positive recommendation, taking out the stipulation of the 1 night stay. Correct? Oh, 2 night stay.
41 dash.
Okay, thank you. Next is ordinance 46-23, a zoning map amendment for the agricultural district to a single-family resident district, part of 8605 North Second Street. May I have a motion and a second?
So be.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Tricky and a second by Mrs. Miller. Could we have staff report, please?
Yeah, and I'm actually going to report on
Yep.
both the zoning change and the special use permit together. The North Park Public Water District is purchasing over 2 acres from the school district located in the north side of the schoolyard at Machesney Elementary School for installation of a new well and well house. But to allow this, they need a zoning map amendment and the special use permit. Zoning map amendment is from the ag district to the single family residential district only because the parcel that they're splitting off and purchasing is too small to be a conforming ag zoned lot. So we cannot allow the creation of that parcel, but it does meet bulk requirements to be a conforming single family parcel. And the special use permit would be for a public utility in the single family residential district. We recommend approval of the zoning map amendment and of the special use permit with conditions as staff approve the design of the well house structure. We would like it to be compliant with the nearby school and the new Harlem Community Center that's going to be built nearby. Also, any fencing around the well house will need a village fence permit. And the Planning and Zoning Commission did vote to recommend approval of the zoning map amendment and the special use permit with those conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to speak to the committee?
Any questions?
Okay, any questions or discussions? Seeing none, can we take roll call, please?
Trustee Bogey,
Aye.
Mr. Tricky,
Aye.
Ms. Bailey,
Aye.
Chairman Sipes,
Aye.
Trustee Stromberg.
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays.
Thank you. Ordinance 46-23 will go to the board meeting on January 2nd with a positive recommendation. Next is ordinance 47-23, a special use permit for public utility in a single-family residential district part of 8605 North 2nd Street. May I have a motion and a second, please?
So made.
Second.
Have a motion by Mrs. Miller and a second by Mr. Tricky. We've had staff report. Is there any discussions or questions? Seeing none, can we take a roll call, please?
Mr. Tricky,
Aye.
Ms. Bailey,
Aye.
Chairman Sipes,
Aye.
Trustee Stromberg,
Aye.
Trustee Bogey.
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays.
Thank you. Ordinance 47-23 will go to the January 2nd board meeting with a positive recommendation.
Won't these go to December 18th?
Was it, we got another, oh, that's right, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Either go to December 8th, I'm
These will
ahead
go
of
to
myself.
December 18th.
I was thinking it's Christmas.
We're done.
I'm sorry, December 18th board meeting on all these ordinances we've discussed. My fault.
Nope, no problem.
Next is ordinance 01-24, a variance for a commercial sign area regulation 11320 North 2nd Street. May I have a motion and a second?
So be.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Tricky, a second by Trustee Stromberg. Could I have staff report, please?
Yes, this is a variance asking for increased sign area at the flood pros to be located at the subject property. They're asking for more sign area just so they can put a sign on the southern building facade, which is technically the side of the building. But it is the only facade that is clearly visible to northbound traffic because of how the building is oriented in relation to North 2nd Street. Staff recommends approval of this variance as long as the total signage at the property does not exceed 174 square feet. This is less than the applicants had initially applied for, but we recommend that the signage on the side of the building should not exceed the signage on the front of the building. Also, because signage on that south facade directly faces a residential property, we recommend that the signage not be illuminated. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted to recommend approval of the variance with these recommended conditions as well, and the applicants are present this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the applicant would like to address the committee?
Nothing specific. We've agreed to the stipulations that were recommended.
Thank you. Any questions, concerns? Seeing none, can we take roll call, please?
Ms. Bailey,
Aye.
Chairman Sipes,
Aye.
Trustee Stromberg,
Aye.
Trustee Bogey,
Aye.
Mr. Tricky,
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays.
Thank you. Ordinance 01-24 will go to the December 18th board meeting with a positive recommendation. Next are reports. Do we have any reports this evening? Seeing none, next is public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the committee for the good of the village? Seeing none, next is adjournment. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
So made.
I have a motion by Trustee Stromberg, a second by Mrs. Miller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are adjourned. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
All night long.